In a special sitting yesterday, the City of Johannesburg Council elected the ANC's Dada Morero as the new mayor. Al-Jamaa's Kabelo Gwamanda resigned from office last week following growing calls for him to step down. Morero received 189 council votes against Democratic Alliance's caucus leader Belinda Kayser Echeozonjoku, who received 60 votes. Morero returns as mayor following a stint in 2022, which lasted 25 days following the Gauteng High Court ruling in the DA's favor to declare his election invalid. Morero returns to a city marred by service delivery challenges, budget shortfalls, and disgruntled residents. He joins us now to tell us about his priorities in the city and how he means to bring stability to the city. Good morning, Mayor. Thank you so much for your time.
Good morning, Ms. Chava.
Bright and early morning. Welcome to Newzroom Afrika. Congratulations on this role. How does it feel to be back in this particular role? And what are your top priorities for the next 100 days?
Well, I'm not a 100 days man, but the city does have priorities that we have agreed on. And part of those priorities would include, amongst others, dealing with the levels of crime, the levels of financial sustainability as one of the key priorities, and of course service delivery as the third important priority of the city. So we are now currently in a midterm, and what it means is a review of progress, what we have done in the last financial year, and what are we going to be doing into this new financial year. So that is the assessments that we'll be doing. So in the next few weeks or so, we'll be going to a Lekotla so that we can clearly define what we want to do in this new term. But certainly what we are focusing on is those priorities, and one of them is financial sustainability, to ensure that the financial position of the city remains favorable and healthy. We are able to respond to key service delivery issues. In fact, our view is to continue to ensure that the basics are done, which is provision of water, electricity, waste removal, and ensuring that your traffic lights work. Those basics need to be done and to be done right. And where there are breakages, we should ensure that our turnaround time to fix is shortened and we are able to respond much, much quicker. So those are the things that we think we'll be focusing on, especially trying to keep the city clean. It's one of the highest priority. Whether it's the inner city or the townships, we want to focus on a cleaner city.
All right. Speaking of the financial state of the city, I mean, the city has finally approved the 2.5 billion rand loan, of course, and that has been a major talking point at this point in time. What is the top priority and how will that money be allocated?
Now, we have already spent the 2.5 loan. Remember, it forms part of the budget that was passed in June 2023, the 2023-2024 budget. So as part of our funding sources for the budgets that we normally pass, loans and borrowings is one of the sources, and we also had to raise a loan to fund the budget. We raised 70% of our budget from our own money, which is basically the surpluses on electricity and water, and rates and taxes. That's where we raise money to finance the work of the municipality in Johannesburg, and the third one being national grants and provincial grants, which helps us to implement service delivery programs.
Mayor, you've made only two changes to your executive team, appointing Kabelo Gwamanda, of course, as Community Development MMC, yes, and appointing the Finance MMC position to Margaret Arnold. Does this mean that you are entirely satisfied with the executive team, or are there any plans to make changes in the future?
Well, for us, it's a continuation. You'd know that in 2022, when I was elected, this was the same executive that was appointed. When Kabelo Gwamanda came into office, this is the same team. So for us, it's continuation. All we have to ensure is that all these executive mayoral members are able to implement and ensure that they deliver on the task that they've been given. So I didn't want to disrupt the work that we have already been doing, but of course we expect performance from all of them. We must ensure that we are a high-performing mayoral committee. So I will have to focus, monitor them, and check that they are indeed delivering on the commitments we have made.
The stability of the city has been in sharp focus, and most recently, of course, we've seen DA Johannesburg caucus leader Belinda, who has basically voiced concerns over the negative effects of the instability of the mayoral leadership. And I mean, this is mostly marked by the recent resignation, of course, of Gwamanda and in the past, really the short terms of previous mayors. Now, how do you intend to restore the confidence of the city?
I think in the first and foremost, the council itself has restored some level of confidence by the election of the new executive mayor, in fact being elected by all parties in council except for the Democratic Alliance. So I think that's the level of confidence that we ourselves as councillors have shown to the residents of Johannesburg, and we will ensure that we do not take that confidence for granted, and we will ensure that we respond to issues that are faced by residents and respond to them timeously, because we do respond, but at times the response takes much longer, and as a result of that we lose the confidence of our residents. So we'll try to restore that confidence.
And are you confident that you have the backing of the council, especially in light of the recent resignation of the previous mayor, for instance?
Yes, I do have. I mean, the results does show that all parties are saying, we are confident you can do this thing. Let's work together and make Johannesburg better, because parties have come to a realization that the residents and the citizens of South Africa want us to work together to better our own cities, and in this case, to make Johannesburg a better place. So we are committed, and you'd realize that in the last 3 weeks, through the negotiations and the discussions, everybody came on board and said, let's work together, let's make Johannesburg. I mean, I was voted in by the Freedom Front Plus, which has shown confidence that I can do this thing, and collectively we can find better ways of making Johannesburg work.
You mentioned crime, Mayor, as one of your top priority areas. Now, how will you work to improve public safety and, of course, reduce crime in the city?
Well, one of the priorities, or one of the immediate program, is what we call JNPD+. We still insist that it will help us a lot if we have visible policing in the wards. And for us to do that is to deploy at least 10 officers in every ward. In that way, we are practically there in the ward, overseeing, making sure that we reduce and neutralize the impact of crime. We are going to focus into our economic nodes, which we think are important to ensure that they are not disrupted, by deploying sufficient and visible police in areas which are economic nodes, so that we can keep businesses in Johannesburg. Otherwise, most of them will leave if they have they feel threatened by crime. And part of what we want to do is to ensure that people live in safer communities. So we will be focusing on crime as a priority area.
Mayor, one of the pressing issues facing Johannesburg residents is the high cost of electricity. My goodness. So what concrete plans do you have to address this issue and provide relief to residents?
Unfortunately, we do not set the tariffs. They are set by NERSA and Eskom. And you know that in most cases, once tariffs are set, ourselves as the city, we've always just done a pass-through cost. We've never increased the cost of electricity because we understand it's too heavy. So it's basically a pass-on from Eskom and NERSA. We don't add any other thing on electricity, so it is expensive. Two, we are also doing a bit of review in terms of our availability charge, wherein some of our customers have complained that it's too high. We are really looking into the 200 surcharge, and I think at the right time we'll make an announcement and we'll do the adjustments necessary in January. But also be aware that those that are indigent or poor do have certain benefits. Even on the surcharge, they are exempted. So we have to do something to ensure that we help customers and meet them halfway so that we can cushion them against the high costs of electricity, and not just the high cost of electricity, generally the high cost of living, which is a concern. And even for ourselves as the municipality, it's a serious concern because it also affects us on our collections as people are unable to meet their monthly municipal commitments or bills on a month-to-month basis. So we are alive to the fact of the cost of living, which has become too high. And I think certain interventions has to be done by all spheres of government to try and reduce the cost of living.
There have been raised concerns around the matter of foreign nationals who are operating businesses, and many illegally, including shops that are selling sweets and other food items that have been linked to children being harmed, and in some instances, illnesses, even death. So, Mayor, what steps will you take to address this issue?
Part of our program, as we said, will be dealing with crime as crime, and therefore we'll be clamping down on those that are illegally operating. And there has been work being done there. It's just that we need to raise the bar and communicate it better to our residents that indeed we are going into those areas to try and stop those that are illegally operating businesses. So we are going to use our law enforcement, or rather our bylaw enforcement, to climb down on those. So we've been doing it. We just need to raise the bar and be more aggressive and be able to communicate every time we're making these interventions. But yes, nothing will stop us from acting on those that are involved in criminal activities and, of course, operating illegal shops.
One of the things that I think South Africa was happy to hear in the speech that you gave yesterday was the fact that now Johannesburg will now be a construction site.
Definitely. We have to go out there and attract as much investment as possible. Because if we are able to turn around Johannesburg into a construction site, it means we'll have opportunities to create jobs. It means we'll be able to grow the economy. So we have to look at a number of things that we are going to be doing. One, we'll be intervening in the Lenceria development by unlocking it through a water treatment plant, which will help us to unlock the Lenceria development, which is a 3 million city that the president had announced. So together ourselves, provincial government and national government, we will put resources available to try and unlock that development. We are looking at other developments that people, companies overseas who have shown an interest to come and set up in Johannesburg. So as part of attracting investment, we will bring them and make it easier for them to set up businesses in Johannesburg. As you know, that there are few projects that already we are working with the private sector to unlock the economic potentials, create jobs, and ensure that we can grow the economy of Johannesburg. So there are few, and we will be announcing them as we move along. But it is important that Johannesburg must reclaim its place in the global world.
The previous mayor has been accused of being out of touch. So will you be attending council meetings? What is the plan to ensure that you remain rooted on the ground and in touch with the city and what is happening and what the needs are of the people?
No. A council meeting we're expected to be in council because I must deliver reports on behalf of the executive. So that's, you have to. There's no way you can ignore attending council. Secondly, we have what we call stakeholder engagements, which we just need to ensure that we are consistent with engaging with the stakeholders, whether civil society, business, and the banks. In fact, I had already started meeting with banks since I took the responsibility of the MMC for for finance. I've been meeting with a number of ratepayers associations to try and unlock some of the queries and problems. And some of them have actually came on board to say, look, we want to participate. We had a program just around parks in this area to try and restore the parks of the city. And the initiative came from Ratepayers Association themselves, and we partnered with them through City Parks to try and restore our parks. So there's a lot of citizens, a lot of organizations in Johannesburg which wants to contribute because they are Joburgers themselves and they don't want to see their city collapse. So we'll take advantage of that and continue to engage with stakeholders, including the media, by the way.
Wow, fantastic. Yeah. We see you've hit the ground running. Well, congratulations once again, and we certainly wish you all of the best. More than 25 days this time around.
Yeah, it's 27 now, we are counting.
We're doing good so far.